Mark, what's up? Welcome back to the Power Hour, man. We're glad you came back to hang out with us.
Luke, glad to be back on the program. How's it going?
It's going well, except I thought it was spring. It's snowing for 2 days straight here in Detroit, Michigan. But other than that, everything's going well. What's up in your world?
You must have gotten your sunshine. We got a nice break from the rain for a week or so, but I think it's coming back at us.
Awesome. All right, guys. Mark is CEO of Arcimoto, ticker FUV. Again, that's FUV. Drop that ticker in the chat. Help your fellow zingers out there. And Mark, but before we dive into things, could you just give us a little bit of background on the company for those who are not familiar?
Sure thing. So Arcimoto, we build, the FUV is actually the also the name of our first product, which is the fun utility vehicle. And at its root, Arcimoto is really about a reimagination of transportation away from oversized, super inefficient vehicles that we typically use every day into something that is much more human scale, right sized for what we actually do. So the way that we travel en masse is one or two people traveling a relatively short distance with a relatively small amount of stuff. And the tool that we use for that job is typically a 4,000 pound to 5,000 pound car or SUV that is designed to carry 5 to 7 people hundreds of miles. And so the idea of the Arcimoto platform is to just build the right tool for the job for daily mobility in order to catalyze the shift to a sustainable transportation system, because the system we've got now is anything but.
Okay. Awesome. And we just showed the website. You have like the best homepage of a website ever, as an aside. I love that you just put the product out there. So that's what we were just looking at, guys. So you get a peek as to what the vehicle looks like. You put out earnings a couple of weeks ago now. You showed basically it's 120% growth in revenue on a year-over-year basis. Still up to a couple $1 million, right? I don't think anybody's getting into the stock for that, right? We want the growth.
I think anyone who's looking at us as a near term, if you're looking at us on the sort of a net present value basis, you're missing the big picture, which is we are just at the very beginning of the process of getting to true scale. I mean, we shipped 46 units in 2019. We were shut down at various points in all 4 quarters of last year due to the pandemic, and still managed to get 97 customer vehicles out the door. But we are, this is really, you can think we're producing right now at a very low volume. We're aiming for much higher scale as we look to 2022 and beyond. This is ultimately, we think that this platform is suitable for around 80% of the vehicle trips on the road. And so as we look to what are really convergent trends in the future of mobility, electrification, autonomy, ultralight platforms, vehicle sharing models, we really see Arcimoto sitting at kind of the confluence of those trends. And so 2021 for us is all about laying the groundwork for this next decade of growth.
Excellent. And that's exactly what I wanted to ask about is sort of what that timeline for scale looks like. And it sounds like 2022 is the year where we'll really start to see that.
Yeah. So we just bought a new production facility.
You told us about it last time. Is it officially yours?
It is ours. So we said that we were going to close on the 19th, and we did. So that was one small step on the way, but it's I was just over there with the team last night, and it was actually the first time that I'd met a bunch of our team members since we've been largely working from home, those not on the production process. But we've got a lot of work to do to turn that from what it is today into an actual advanced vehicle manufacturing facility. But it is getting to scale. Having a place to build them is definitely a necessary piece of that process.
And that facility is if I remember properly, you're going to be able to turn out 50,000 units out of that facility. Is that accurate?
Our targeted capacity is 50,000 units a year from that facility, and we're aiming to really kick off production in the new facility before the end of next year.
Okay, excellent. And I see Jason is joining us.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Jason, I'm well. Good morning.
Good morning. So is any production going on in the current facility?
Yes. Yeah. So we've kept what we call the AMP, the Arcimoto manufacturing plant, which is where we go from. We vertically integrated material cutting, robotic welding, CNC forming and machining, all the way through final product assembly. That's where we're building our vehicles presently. We're calling our new facility the ramp, which is the ramped AMP, if you will. And that won't come online again for, we're aiming for end of next year to get vehicles out the door of the new facility. But we will be producing vehicles. We've at earnings, we laid out a target of delivering 500 customer vehicles in 2021, which would be more than a 5X of what we did last year. And then to unlock real volume and growth, we're going to need more space.
Got it. Okay. And then is Sandy Monroe involved still?
Oh yeah. No, we are working with the Monroe team on a daily basis, both for the planning out of the new facility and then also fine tuning what we're actually going to build inside of it.
Yeah, he's the best. I don't know if you ever get to Michigan, but if you do, I know you've been here before, but you should stop by our office. We're in downtown Detroit.
I would love to. I've been basically off the road for a year, as many people have, and that same thing is true of our marketing efforts. I mean, we've been largely just communicating with folks online. But next week, I'm kicking off my first outbound tour down to California for travels that we've done, and we're going to be launching multiple marketing road shows on the East and West Coast in the coming months.
Got it. Okay. Now we're going to do a little rapid fire. Okay. So some questions from the chat. Guys, ask your questions. I have some in the queue. One can it be used in the winter?
Absolutely. I use it year round. Here in Eugene, Oregon, rains 160 days a year. Even the open model does a very good job of keeping the water off of you. Now we are playing. You can think of it like a Jeep, right? You've got when the weather's decent, or if you just like riding it that way, you have the doors off. You can put half doors on. We're actually just about to launch the half doors into production. We've got full side enclosure on the drawing board. And I think it's important to understand the distinction between the products that we have launched already and the underlying vehicle platform. So we've announced, I think, 5 different variations of the vehicle platform, sort of different hats that you can put on the same underlying electromechanical gear in order to differentiate the product for different markets. So the fun utility vehicle, which comes open by default, is I would say more tuned to the sort of Sun Belt markets. California, 5th largest economy in the world, Arizona, Texas, Nevada, all the way out to Florida. And then as we get to scale, we're certainly planning on the fully embodied, more buttoned up version for the Detroit winter.
Got it. Okay. And Mark, couple more things. Do you need someone said a motorcycle license to drive the Fun utility vehicle?
So 3-wheelers in the U.S. are classified as motorcycles federally, but almost every state now has some kind of a carve out for 3-wheelers that either let you ride them with a normal driver's license or with a 3-wheel only endorsement that's very easy to get. So in the case of Oregon, for example, you can drive the Fun utility vehicle with a normal driver's license because it has a roof and it's got seat belts. But we have another product called the Roadster, which is an amazingly fun machine on the road, but it has no roof. It's got no seat belts. It's more of that kind of pure motorcycle experience. And so we're in Oregon, exact same controls. You can drive the FUV with a driver's license. You've got to have a 3-wheel endorsement to ride the Roadster. And I, in order to drive our own product, I went and got I went and took the written test. It was piece cake. So now I'm legal on the road for all Arcimoto products.
Got it. Okay. And then this one seems obvious to me, but maybe I'll just ask because maybe it's not. When you go into mass production, is the price gonna become cheaper?
Yeah, well, so that's one of the core pieces of our mission. We believe firmly that we don't get to a sustainable transportation system until the wide market can afford the products. And so affordability is a key goal of ours for the mass production version in particular. And it's a simple function of economy of scale, right? The parts, all of the constituent parts get less expensive. The process to put them together gets more efficient. And we're doing a lot of work to really simplify some of the more expensive parts of the vehicle architecture in order to drive down costs. So yeah, cost reduction is a major goal as we go to scale.
Got it. And then someone mentioned the safety being a smaller car. I know there's smart cars that are small. How do you address safety?
Yeah. So and you can go to arcimoto.com/safety for kind of the deep look. You have to realize,
put a link in the chat about arcimoto.com/safety so you can answer their questions. Okay.
Yeah, but in general, it is a motorcycle class platform. It is a much lighter weight vehicle than a full-size car on the road. The advantages that the Arcimoto gives the operator versus a typical bike, one, it is a stable platform, 3-wheeled vehicle, 2 wheels in front, 1 wheel in back, very low center of gravity, much more braking power, and much more maneuverability capability versus a typical bike. But you've got a roof overhead. You sit up about the same height as a crossover SUV, so you are much more visible to other road users, and you have a much easier time seeing people around you. So you get you're when you think of typical small form vehicles, they're usually really low slung and hard to see. With the Arcimoto, you're up there. People can see you. You can see other people. So maneuverability, stability, and visibility are sort of 3 of the core pieces there. And then you also have 2 seat belts for each occupant, a 3-point going in each across each shoulder, a roof that passes the roof crush test for cars. So for a vehicle in its class, we believe we are doing everything we can to make it as safe as possible. But you are still a much smaller vehicle on the road than the typical 4,000-pound SUV, which is, I think part of the point of the exercise is that the shift to a sustainable transportation system should mean that we make the roads safer for everybody, and that what causes the road to be unsafe is everybody using a giant 4,000-pound machine by themselves to go get a cup of coffee, which is nuts.
Got it. No, I agree. And the delivery aspect of it too, for short order delivery from restaurants.
So we have the Fun Utility Vehicle was our sort of our flagship product. One of the products that we actually started piloting last year is the Deliverator, where we take the back seat out and that whole back end of the vehicle becomes storage. That we think is really an ideal solution for the rapidly emergent trend of last mile delivery, whether you're talking about food or parcels or meals. That the Deliverator really is a great balance between a platform that is small and maneuverable, can park it anywhere, and yet you can carry a lot of stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So how do you get these places to know that you exist, that you have these vehicles, that you can do delivery and all that kind of stuff? How do you get these schools or whoever would be a customer to know that you guys exist?
Well, we've had a number of fairly high visibility pilot projects to date. What we're doing now is we are approaching fleets that have interest. We just basically wrap a vehicle with their branding and say, hey, you want to take this for a couple of weeks and give it a try. And so far, the response has been really fantastic. So the part of the goal in the next, over the next 18 months is to get as many pilot Deliverator vehicles in the hands of fleets that can make much larger purchase commitments for when we're at mass production. So we're going to, we've got a bunch of people who have been waiting for customer vehicles for a very long time. We need to get vehicles into their driveways. And then we also need to really prime the pump for scale production as we look to much higher unit volumes in, sort of starting in end of 2022, but really 2023 and beyond.
I mean, if you can get the production done, I mean, even golf carts. I mean, I know it's not a golf cart, but golf carts last summer were selling like crazy because people were at home. They wanted to be able to commute. If you're able to get a price point like that, where there's like $8,000 to $10,000, and this is way better, stronger, more stable, safer, all that, you could dominate that space. No,
I think in the real advantage, you think about the golf cart space or what's sort of known as the neighborhood electric vehicle. Those are great vehicles for the neighborhood. They're great for areas where you're really limited to kind of constrained to an area of low speed. But the real advantage of the Arcimoto platform is you can go on all the roads. It will serve you throughout your whole community. And so it's a much higher level of utility than the neighborhood electric vehicle concept. So and again, I mean, the golf cart market is a big market. We think that the market potential for the Arcimoto platform is larger still.
Yeah. It becomes when you get the manufacturing going in a real way. I mean, the volume that you guys can do would be tremendous. Were you guys the subject of a short report that was on some website? Someone asked me to ask you. I don't know what this is about, though.
Yeah, I addressed that at some length at the beginning of our last earnings call. Ironically named company called Benziga put out just a garbage hit piece on the company, and it was just chock full of falsehoods and misrepresentations. It is an unfortunate part of the market that we live in, that there are. I think what my guess is, and I'm not a financial analyst, but we saw a massive accumulation of short interest in Arcimoto on NASDAQ starting in December or late November, and to me this just seems like it's part of goes with the territory, unfortunately. But we're going to keep executing, and I think we are going to. My belief is that we will prove all of those short thesis points provably false.
Did it have false points in the report?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was garbage.
Someone said it was on seeking something. I don't know. So
there have been, which is interesting. I mean, just again, interesting to know that there have been, I think now, 7 hit pieces on Arcimoto in the last few months. And again, we are a much smaller company by market cap than other players in the EV space, and we are actually delivering product to customers, and we have a bunch of rave reviews about the product that we've delivered. And so I think my sense is that some folks are trying to protect a bad bet. But again, I'm not an analyst, so take everything I say with a grain of salt.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like I remember I invested in a company called HubSpot. It was at $45-50 when I invested, and there's a hit piece on it on Seeking Alpha, and the guy just said it's way overvalued. It's 10 times. It's going to be a $10 stock, and that's what it should be at the most. It's at $520 today, and that's like 3 years later. So time heals. Like, it's like time heals, time shows who can execute. You get the game.
And when you've got 30% of the company's float sold short, that's a lot of stock that someday is going to have to be bought back. And so, some would argue that provides an opportunity.
Totally. I mean, exactly, because if the stock goes up, and at the end of the day, if you execute, the stock will take care of itself. That's the way I look at it, Mark. I mean, yeah. And then like for capital raises, because I'm sure that Wall Street's coming to you to try to do capital raises so they can invest in a growing company. How do you look at that for capital raising?
We did a number of capital raises over the course of last year that put us into the best balance sheet position we've ever been in. And so, when we look at going to scale, obviously building out a scale production factory is going to take some cash. But our primary target for the source of that cash is the federal government. We see the Advanced Technology Vehicle Manufacturing Loan Program as an ideal source of financing for growth. It's what that program is for. We're in sort of pre-application consultation mode. We've shipped them the first couple of drafts of our application, and we're expecting to submit that formally here quite soon.
All right, awesome stuff, man. Next time we got to get Sandy to come on with you. Well,
that'd be great.
Maybe we'll do it from the facility. I'll reach out. But thank you for coming on. Appreciate Arcimoto, guys. Sweet cars. I think sweet company, but time will tell and execution. You guys look at it, and the company's been around. And when working with Sandy Monroe is a bullish thing. It's like having the Mark Zuckerberg of like social, but for electric on your team, which is a very powerful.
I'm not sure Sandy would love the comparison, but perhaps. Hey, Jason, we got to get you behind the handlebars. Let's do the next one live.
Let's do the next one live. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's have fun. Good talking to you. And I know you get the whole game. We talked about how Tesla is, the other three automotive companies, and you're, very smart in the space, and that's why I like talking to you. It's not just about Arcimoto, but how the market dynamics in this space, and why those three automotive makers had no choice but to let Tesla. I guess they did have a choice, but they chose to let Tesla win.
Yeah, it's hard to disrupt yourself, and that's kind of the classic innovator's dilemma problem. Is that if you've got this sort of entrenched market, it makes it much more difficult to go after something that points back at your other products and says these all suck. And so, I think that's why, even though Arcimoto has been, we're a small scrappy startup in Oregon, but for whatever reason, we have been better positioned than just about anybody else I can see to actually go tackle this problem, which to me is, I've been working on this for 13 and a half years. This is the significant challenge project of my life. So, and I think it's a meaningful goal and a reasonable way to pass the time.
Yeah. One of our users says they need to give you a BZ wrapped vehicle and you do a live drive around and stream it as you take us around Detroit. Sounds like a good idea. We'll get a lot of viewers.
I think that is right on point with our present marketing program. So
yeah, I don't need the car. You can just give it to us for a week, and I'll drive it around Detroit, put some cameras on it. We'll go live all day. We'll take it to the Comerica Park where the Tigers play. Do a whole thing.
Jason, let's make it happen.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thank you for coming on, Mark. We will talk to you soon. See you soon. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too. Cheers.
Yep. Cheers. Okay. So that is Mark, FUV. The guy's working hard. The guy is smart. I'm telling you, he's smart. I came to know him from a few months ago, 5 months ago. We were talking about how Tesla has out-innovated the big automakers. And one of the big issues is because they have a whole dealer network. And electric, since there's less parts, there's less service for dealers. So even though maybe Ford could introduce something sooner, it messes up with their whole model. And that's the innovator's dilemma. Do we let go of this part of it or do we not? And that's why Tesla has an 8-year lead or 10-year lead. And Mark was talking about that. And a year ago, 98% of people were never talking about that. So, and although Gordon Johnson would still say, oh, those automakers are doing great. But so not just Arcimoto, but he gets the business. And when I'm looking at companies to invest in, I want to invest in a company that the CEO is building on the business that he has, but he also understands market dynamics and he understands what it's going to take to move the needle to build this brand. And he knows it's getting the manufacturing out there and getting the marketing out there. So now I'm going to have my Benziga vehicle driving around. People are going to want it. What is that? We'll sell 1,000 that day. Who knows?